Okay, so things start to heat up when we have earnings with Rigetti stock. And if I open up the quantum watch list here, we just saw them report earnings today. If we go down, take a look here, it looks probably worse than it is. A lot of people see this and they say, wow, Rigetti stock, they're down 14%. But also just kind of realizing what happened right here before earnings, they surged 20%. So kind of even from where they were just a few or a trading day ago, really. And you still look at it, it's a little bit concerning, right? Because you have an earnings report. This isn't uncommon to have this spike down. Just one thing to consider as we kind of do the full breakdown, there is a few trends happening that we kind of mapped out. One of the trends that is pretty prominent is that left to right consolidation between about $6.50 and about $11. And then the overall overarching trend is that trend from really, a dollar a share when we started covering it up to $21, and it started to build this market cap. And you can see it found a support again right here about $6.50. And it's been consolidating again from left to right. Now it's all the way after sinking down to 660. It's back up here to about, it shot up to about $12 a share, and now it's back down to $9.96. So as we're taking a look at this near term, there is this overall consolidation from left to right, but there's also what we can identify here is this swing that's starting to trend up. So you do have maybe this level, right? This support, resistance, resistance. And it was just at this level when we did our analysis earlier today. So again, you get two uploads on Rigetti. It was right here where the earnings call was happening. We said, hey, it's at a resistance. It's possible that it shoots up and it can hold this as a support. But you do see an overextension on the RSI and the MACD. We were just pointing those out. And it was at a resistance. And in the overall recent trend, it was at a resistance. So with those things in place, it looks like investors didn't like the overextension, whether it was the charts or something else, which it probably was. We could take a look at the financials. That's what happened. It dipped about 14% there. And you can see that's back down to this support. And we're wondering, is it going to be able to hold this trend above this $8.75 price point? Or are we going to see it sell back down and maybe have more of the same with this consolidation and maybe get back down on this level? So when it comes to Rigetti stock, we were doing some analysis earlier. And if you guys aren't familiar with the company, they're a quantum computing company that builds quantum computers. They focus on right now the fidelity of 2-qubit gates, and they're increasing their fidelity and they've become very efficient. They have partnerships, MIT, you got NASA for sure, as well as AWS and Microsoft. And they were in the conversation as standing to benefit from this $2.7 billion quantum bill that got passed. But one thing we noticed is they did get some partnerships here in the 5 to 10 or $15 million. There's a $5.48 million contract with Air Force. You had a $38 million purchase with Quanta. Then you had another partnership. I think it was between 5 to 10 million somewhere here for another partnership. But the problem is that it might have happened too little, too late, because while they're getting partnerships and they were seeing investments here from BlackRock and Vanguard, the reality is that their earnings came in pretty short. So they just announced their earnings here, and their earnings came in at below what was expected. So you can see this is March here. They really missed the revenue. They were starting to maybe heat up a little bit on revenue throughout the year. They were holding around 3 million, and then it kind of tapered off in December down to 2.2, but they just reported 1.47 million in the quarter. So it's not looking good on the financials there. They're not seeing the revenue that you'd like to see from a company, especially, just to put this in perspective, their market cap's at 3.3 billion. Billion with a B, okay? And they're bringing in the type of numbers that is, there was a small company I was working with, a software company, a real estate company, a few years ago before I was able to escape the 9 to 5. And I'll tell you what, they were doing about 1 to 1.5 million per quarter, and there was about 5 or 10 people on that team in the real estate company. It wasn't billions of dollars of valuation. In fact, it was probably about a $100 million company. So to say that they are making these numbers, but they're valued at 3.3 billion, it shows that investor sentiment. They're looking at the future of Rigetti. They're looking at the quantum. They're looking at the partnerships when you're searching AWS and you see that they have them in the cloud here, or that quantum computers have this this innate ability to massively increase the computing power for this AI boom that we're in. And there's investors that are looking forward to that happening here with Rigetti. But at the same time, you have to look at this revenue, say, whoa, okay, that's quite the market cap. I just got done doing analysis just a few moments ago on this stock that's called Amentum. And when we were looking at the financials of this defense company, they're $5 billion market cap or less than 5 billion. But so around just a little bit more than Rigetti, but they're bringing in about $3 billion per quarter, billions with a B. Those valuations seem much more sturdy. So now we're looking at Rigetti. It's been a few quarters, and we said it. We said, hey, can they bring in with this Majorana chip maybe being a holder in the Rigetti, QPU there? If you get down to the QPU, that's a partnership there. Can we see some increased revenue and spend from some of big tech? So far, it's not showing up in the revenue, and the recent earnings don't look so hot with that. So that's why we see the sell down. It's exactly why investors really did not like what they saw in the earnings. If they would have just ran positive, I think we would have had a really nice earnings. But again, we'll see if it holds this level around 995. If you're holding Rigetti right now, like I have some people I know that are holding. In fact, I helped my dad purchase Rigetti at around $7 a share. He was able to ride it up to $11. He sold $11.50, and then it went back down, and he ended up buying again. So I think he might be even or up at this moment in Rigetti stock. But when I'm telling him these earnings, I'm going to urge some caution with him and say, hey, Dad, you got some profits. Might be a good time to scale down the position a little bit, unless you're looking at this further than 18 months. Because if you're not looking at it further than 18 months, I'm talking 2 to 3 to 5 year investment, then you could have a rough time in the near term. If you're looking at this from 2, 3, 5 years, and also the market tends to look at it the same way with you, then that's a really nice place to be, and you don't have to worry about it so much. Investing in quantum computing ahead of or during the AI boom that we're in right now, I would say is one of the most well thought out, future-proof types of ways to experience exceptional growth in your portfolio. So it's not bad to buy Rigetti or look at it long term. I think it's quite good, and I personally look at most quantum companies that way. But on the near term, maybe swing trades present themselves. We'll have to see. If it starts to bounce here and does start to push back up in this level, hey, maybe we enter a trade there intraday for a few hours. As we know, these swings happen, and when they do, they're 20%. So, and it's not uncommon for them to happen quite often. So we'll be watching Rigetti stock, see if we get some more trends happening there. As I said, they're quite common with that 10 to 25% swing. But again, the downside can be risky as well. And as it's looking kind of like a falling knife as it is right now, and maybe holding this level, I would urge caution for anyone looking at it right now as a buy. Just urge some caution, have a plan, and I personally would be a little more patient to see how it reacts over the next few days with these earnings. So aside from market conditions, tariffs looking great and seeing them lifted off, and a trade deal happening with China, which is increasing obviously some market gains as of recently. It's possible that it does hold or carry some of Rigetti, but just to take into account the earnings, be careful. That's all I'll say. Thank you guys again for watching. If you want to join us in our live session tomorrow, as I mentioned, we were trading some semiconductors as well as AMTM this morning, and an SOXL position that's up 83%. That's tremendous. We sold out most of it, so it's not moving. But if you guys ever want to watch us trade live and get this free t-shirt for StockMate delivered to you anywhere in the world, then I would encourage you guys to simply take a look at the second link in the description down below. Would love to see you there at Market Open. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate you all. If I earned your thumbs up, smash it. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video.